ต้องย่านบ่มีไม่เคยมาดอกนี่นี่มันคักเด้จะอยากให้เอาศพจะมาฝังนี่นี่บ่คิดจะดีเด้
บ่เป็นหยังข่อยเห็นเราคือกัน เราอาจจะให้พวกเรา2 คนมาพอกัน
มันเป็นอันนี้เดี๋ยวนี้แม่หายสาบสูญไปบ่ฮู้จักว่าเราไปทางใด
พวกเจ้ามาหาข่อยเนี่ย
เดี๋ยวนี้นี่พวกเราฮู้แล้วว่าเราตาย
ก็เห็นลูกย่างไปกับผู้หญิงคนหนึ่งแต่พอเวลากับเจ้าเข้ามาใกล้แล้วผู้หญิงคนนั้นก็หายตัวไปแม่ต้องการซอกหาลูกของแม่
ข่อยอยู่หันตอนเราตาย
ข่อยก็อยู่หันตอนเราตายเมื่อ50 ปีก่อน
เท่านั้นว่าเจ้าตายมา50 ปีแล้วแต่ตอนข่อยพ่อเจ้ายังมีชีวิตอยู่นะเจ้าตายได้ยังอยู่นี่
บางคนเจ็บปวดหลายเขาก็สวยเข้าไปแบบบ่ทรมานเวลาเฮาเฒ่าถ้าว่ามีเด็กน้อยมาต้องการให้เฮาสวยเจ้าก็สอนเขาแบบนี้อันนี้แม่นวิธีสวยของเขาเจ้าเข้าใจบ่
Kayla, thank you, Kayla. You'll be my ticking time clock on the chat. If I ask too many stupid questions, maybe 2 in a row, then you can just boot me off. So you'll be our ticking time clock.
So. An hour, whatever. I'll just go pour myself a glass of wine. It's fucking midnight here. It's fine. I have nowhere to be.
First
I
of
have
all,
nowhere to be.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mattie, first of all, I'm gonna start with a personal question. When I was 5, I lived in Bangkok and I actually knew the language. It was very fluent, and then we moved to the States. And my dad wanted me to actually go to Sunday school, Thai Sunday school. And as a kid, I said, no, I just want to speak English and become Americanized. And now...
Oh, so you didn't do it. Okay.
I didn't do it. And I blame myself. I have to hold myself accountable. But the thing is, so for the last 45 years, I've been Americanized. This is my culture. But
did you understand any of it?
No, I lost the language. The language. But the thing is now he has since passed. And my only tie to the Thai culture is through the food and through going to Thai town. But Mattie, you did it the opposite way I did. Can you talk about being raised here in the States, but then a decade ago, or maybe even more, you decided to move to Laos and what was that journey like for you? Has it been a fortifying experience? And I'm sure you can't even encapsulate that within a soundbite, but just your overall big picture experience.
I mean, a soundbite, definitely not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, Greg, it's conflicting because I'm a mutt like you. You're Filipino and Thai. I'm Lao, Viet, Thai. And so it's I'm Asian the way most white people think they're European, you know. And I mean, it's the truth. Like every time you talk to an American, they're like, I'm like Irish and British and part French, part German, and like 1/16 Cherokee. And I'm just like, you're not. But I feel bad now for saying that because like as a mutt, I realize how important it is to have some kind of tie to your heritage and to also kind of know about your ethnic background and your origins. But in a way, I had a really different upbringing. I grew up in a very diverse environment. So like I was in California and I was surrounded by I was so fortunate. In California, you're surrounded by everyone and everything. Every kind of Asian, Latinos, Black people, white people, different kinds of white people. And it was like a really amazing experience for me because part of that Americanization that I had, that you also had, was my parents encouraging that. My parents encouraged me to hang out with every different kind of ethnicity because they didn't like the idea of me boxing myself into one friend group. And I think I'm really lucky because I know families who want to recreate this like little Thai, little Lao experience, or even little Saigon. I was raised in Southern California. I was born in OC, and we actually call a section of OC Little Saigon, you know, with Phúc Lệ Thọ, right? Like the shopping mall there. I love it. But that was not what my parents wanted for me. And every time I'd ask them about our history and our origin, they were really careful about what they told me, because I think my mother had this awareness that after the war, there was going to be change. People evolved. We left in the 70s. We were in a refugee camp. And then I was born in California. I was a first anchor baby. Yay. And, my parents did give me a lot of background about their childhood and their upbringing and about the war in general, but they didn't want to taint my experience and perspective of the country and the culture that they wanted me to discover on my own terms. And I find that when I speak to a lot of Lao Americans or Thai Americans or Vietnamese Americans, they have a very distinct picture of what they think Southeast Asia is like, what they think their motherland or their parents' ancestral country is like. And those are the ones that have the roughest time when they come back. The culture shock is real, Greg, and it shakes them. It shakes them to the core. And I mean, long story short, I have this amazing oven in my house. It has 4 burners on the top, and the skillet in the middle for making carne asada tacos, the flat skillet for pancakes and carne asada, and the giant professional oven on the bottom. And it's a gas oven. And it was from an American Lao person who moved to Lao, feeling like they were going to claim their heritage and claim their roots. And they didn't make it for 2 months because the culture shock was too great. The culture shock was too deep. And it wasn't this imaginary Lao that does not exist anymore from the 70s that their parents had fed them. And so they had these containers of things they brought from America, and they couldn't take it back. So when they left, they sold me this oven for $500, and now I make cookies and cake all the time.
I don't. This answer, I just wanted to comment. I'm sure this answer would take an hour or two, but just to have both worlds must be such a rich, invigorating, creative, and personal life for you. Just to have both of these sort of at your beck and call to access as a storyteller.
It's incredible. I'm so lucky because as a storyteller, I have my foot on both sides of the line. And I find sometimes a flaw of some Lao films is that they have this idea of what they think people want to see. And so they make this idea of what Lao is. And sometimes it's ultra patriotic and ultra propaganda-y, like the good Lao girl with long black hair and the champa flower in her hair and wearing pasim, the silk, right? And like, it's too idealized. Nobody gives a crap about that. And then the Westerners want to see poverty porn, or they don't understand certain things. So people are afraid to put certain things on screens. Like, for instance, the funeral rites that we have in my film, right? Or the weird lottery ghost beliefs from my second film, Dear Sister. And no one would put that on screen because they're like, that's too fucking weird. No one's going to understand that. But then for people outside of our country, they don't even know that exists, and they're interested. Or they're interested, but they have no context for it, and they need someone to explain it to them in a way they understand. And so because I'm from both worlds, I can show these things to them and I can give them context for it. But the one thing that I have that most filmmakers on the outside do not have, because we have all kinds of fancy little white boys coming over here trying to make a film in Lao, and trying to tell our stories. Oh, in Thailand too. Like, there's a lot of white people coming to Thailand to make a Thai film. And what they don't have is they don't have the internal dynamics of what happens behind closed doors in a Lao family or in a Thai family or a Filipino family. They can't authentically show the working emotions and reactions and problems of what happens in an actual family that is from Southeast Asia. And that's why it always feels inauthentic when some white person is making an Asian story.
For my movie review podcast, it's 3 of us. All 3 of us gave your film 5 out of 5 stars. And what's interesting about this, yeah, thank you for your film, by the way. One person said, I love it because I can go back and rewatch it and pick up the puzzles and put the puzzles together. Another person said, well, as a huge horror fan, this blew away all the horror tropism stuff that I've been conditioned to enjoy or put up with over the years. And then on me personally, with losing my father 5-6 years ago, it helped me process grief in so many different ways. So I went through the philosophical thematic behind your film. You love genre filmmaking. In layman's terms, how are you able to hit on all of those levels? Does it just take a lot of time and effort and painstaking effort to do that?
I mean, I think all films should take effort and time. You notice that I'm not making like 3 films a year like a lot of other directors can, right? I'm not Takashi Miike. And there's a reason for that. Like the films that I make, I want them to be these unique standalone films that aren't easily compared to other films and that have a reason and a need to exist. They're not just films for the sake of films. If I just wanted to make films for the sake of films, if I just wanted to like try and use it like some cash cow, then I'd just be doing like any kind of melodrama or any kind of like rom-com jump scare horror movie, and that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to tell a story that is important to myself and important to someone else who wants it and needs it. And in the same way and also that is not stereotypical and that hasn't been done a billion fucking times before. Because the reality is, Greg, like if it's been done before, it's probably been done better. Like it's really hard to do something better than what's already awesome.
Well, Mattie, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to play devil's advocate right now. And let's just say I'm looking at The Long Walk. I'm a creative executive somewhere living in Century City. And I'm thinking, man, The Long Walk, I'm just going to get this to my higher ups. And we're going to remake it Hollywood style. We're going to offer Mattie Do and her crew a whole bunch of money to remake it. Maybe put it in one of the big streaming platforms or whatnot. Offer, you mentioned Cash Cow. Just wondering...
Never in a million years, but okay, go on.
I'm just wondering, is there a bad? Your movie is about choices, and
yes.
Wondering about that kind of choice, if or when that choice is offered to you, because I think this is a movie that I think it's a compliment, but it's also a nightmarish take. It's something that could actually be remade here as well. So,
if I could direct it, and if Chris could write it, there's a possibility, because it wouldn't be a shot-for-shot remake of The Long Walk in Laos. It would not be this very specific Southeast Asian story, but it would be about a forgotten person in a rural part of America that has fallen off the edges of society. And the time traveling could not be based on Buddhist religion. It would be an inherently different movie with the same elements, but at the same time, I would have to ask them, like, why? Because you can't read fucking subtitles? And then they would give me the money, Greg. Then immediately be like, this bitch is like, oh, she's a little too much for us. Like she just straight up came into this high-powered executive conference room where there are probably free snacks, which I'll eat all of them during the meeting. And she just asked if we couldn't read subtitles.
I listened to you on the podcast, and I was on another podcast, and I absolutely just loved your just integrity and the way that you actually speak truthfully. In fact, I wish most people did do that in just general, whether you're media or you're a publicist or you're a filmmaker. Where did you get that? Life's too short attitude. I'm going to actually just say what I actually feel, as opposed to playing the game so you can actually monetize a very safe way to go about this world. You know what I'm saying?
Life isn't a game. We have one life. Even if you believe in rebirth, I believe that if you believe in reincarnation, what we did in this life, we're not trying to correct it in the next life. We've been given another chance to live a new life. And so life is not a game, and we can't treat it like it's a game. It's not win or lose. It's the best thing that you can possibly do for yourself and your loved ones surrounding you. And if you don't live life with integrity, then what do you take to the grave? I'm going to tell you, Greg, you can't take fucking money to the grave. Like, oh, I'm going to like decay with the maggots in my fucking dollar bills. Like, no. like, I'm sure they're not very like great fertilizer either, And I believe that life is short because I saw how short my mother's life was. I sometimes think, in all seriousness, I don't know if I make it to 50, Greg. I'm 40 at this moment. And what do I want to leave behind me? I want to create a legacy. I want to make my mark. Because I can't take money to the grave, what can I take with me to the grave? The memories of people's encounters. Like even if there's no afterlife, even if there's no reincarnation, even if I just become part of the dirt and the ground, I hope I'm not so fucking toxic that like not a single goddamn daisy grows over my headstone, right? Over my plot. And that everybody is saying like, thank God that bitch died. She was awful. She stepped on so many backs just to get ahead in life. And that's not the kind of legacy that anyone should want to leave behind. So what? You have your like amazing Bentley, you have your yacht, you have your amazing diamond rings and shit. Like, think about what you've done for everyone else around you, and think about how many people were hurt in the pursuit of your wealth and of your own personal success. It's not hard to just be kind. It's just be cool. What's so hard about that?
Speaking of cool, my co-host Bruce Perky, I messaged him as I was watching your film. I go, this lead actor in The Long Walk has more presence and charisma than most lead actors I see in cinema, period.
Damn cool.
How in the bleeping world did you find this person? You talked about genre filmmaking. I would put him right on the Mount Rushmore. That's just...
He can just look into the camera and he like burns, he exudes this power and this presence. And if you met him in real life, you wouldn't believe it. He's such a jovial jokester. He's a super comic clown. He's the one that's like running around pranking people on set. He's the one who like we have to remind him like, okay, you wrap at this time, so we can't get drunk yet because we're all still working. Like, don't break open the Heinekens yet. He's seriously like the life of the party. But in the film, he's just like, he's got this presence, and like that's all I can describe it as, is he has this power and he exudes this force, and I love that. And he's I'm really fortunate that everyone that I work with is extremely easy to direct. We speak on, if you could watch when I direct people on set, I think you would be perturbed. I think you would think it was strange, because it's like, first of all, I don't have what we call a video village, which for people who don't know, video village is like the tent that's off to the side, kind of far away, and it has the monitors and we see what's happening on the camera. And if we need something to happen with the actors, we like into a walkie-talkie. In the movies, it's a megaphone, but we don't do this. In a walkie-talkie, you'll be like, okay, let's do another take of that, and let's blah, 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 blah. No, or we're yelling from the video village, from this tent. I don't do that. I stand next to my DOP. I'm barely off frame. Like if I sneezed funny, you would see like my earring or my hair on the side of the frame. That's how close I am to the actors. And when we cut and then we talk about another take, I talk to them even more quietly than this. I'm just like, Greg, I really liked what you did in this moment when we were talking about burning the body, and you had this really intense moment where you held her gaze. I want to do that again, but instead, you still have that intense moment, but why don't you be a little more questioning about it? And why don't you put the burden on her like this? And then we'll do it again. But it's like this. We have these personal conversations, my actors and I. And people who come and visit our set to watch me direct are disappointed because there's no like directorness happening. It's like they just see me sitting on the ground next to the actors, just whispering to them and talking to them like this, just having this, oh, how did you feel about this moment? How did you feel when he spoke to you like this? Oh, wow, that's really interesting. How would you feel if he was a little more intense like this? Let's try it like that. Okay, let's go for another take, and then we'll call it. And I think that you're feeling this energy that all of my performers have because we're all collaborating on the performance together. It's not just the actor, and it's not just the director. It's all of us.
I'm going to say the spoiler stuff towards the end of the interview, but I just wanted to, for people who will actually see this movie, just one of the themes is, I thought it was a little bit heartbreaking, the fact that you can really love someone and you can really believe what you're doing is right, but sometimes you can end up really hurting people as far as helping them go to the next level in our existence. Can you speak to that? Because I thought was that originally part of the script? Because that's so complex and it's so truthful, and it hurts to even just think of that notion, and it's a really big part of your film.
You see it in so many aspects of the film. I'm not even talking just about the boy and the old man and their losses and their regrets, or the girl and what she's lost. even in, for instance, when the NGOs, when the Americans come and visit the little boy and his family when he's a kid, and they decide for them that the help that they need or what they actually need in their lives are solar power. You know, we're here to civilize the savages, right? And we know all the answers and all the solutions to all of these noble savages' problems. This is kind of how I feel like we're treated often in a developing country, not just Southeast Asia, in other places too, like in the global South, as they call it, which is like, by the way, a really bullshit fucking term. Like if you're civilized, you're on the North, and the global South, us in Africa and India and Southeast Asia, like go fuck yourselves. But I have to admit that the work that they do is incredible. Like we have free vaccines from COVAX. During this pandemic, they just donated free vaccines to us, the leftover ones that no one wanted, of course. Some of them have expired. But the reality is that they have really, really good intentions. But good intentions don't make the world go round. Good intentions are not always healthy. And good intentions can ruin people's lives and well-being, just like in this film. I believe that the old man had good intentions. I even believe that the little boy had good intentions when he stayed with the girl as she was dying. He stayed with her and she asked him, you know, to not leave her alone. And he held her hand. But, you know, when he went home, he didn't tell his parents about the fact that he encountered a girl dying in the woods and that her body was still there. Every time he encounters an adult, he doesn't tell them. Her own mother finds him and asks him straight to his face, have you seen her? And he lies because his intention is that he has a friend, he has a companion, and the two of them are happy. But even though he has good intentions and he's a sweet kid, it's not right. Not only is it not right, it's damaging. It's damaged her family. It's damaged her parents. It's damaged his psyche and of what he believes he needs to do as he grows older in life. And this is a huge theme of the film because I believe that as much as we do have good intentions, as much as Westerners think that they have all the solutions to our Eastern problems, you have to think a little farther and deeper. You have to do a little bit more research. And I don't mean just like academic book research or come here for 2 years on your stupid short little project stint and go away and save some other brown country. I mean, you have to have the sincerity and the knowledge and the local groundwork to know what you're getting into and to go beyond good intentions.
Yeah. Mattie, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to something as superficial, I would say, as like DVDs or Blu-rays. Everyone talks about going a generation up regarding the overall content with streaming, but I wonder one day if let's just say I got a special edition Blu-ray of The Long Walk and I keep it, and then 15 years later, maybe those special features of MattieDo and Larsen audio commentary and featurettes will be lost in the ether unless you need that physical disc. I'm just wondering where you stand as a filmmaker regarding, well, in a sense, it's backward to have a disc and collect space, but maybe if these big corporations have The Long Walk on, I don't know, at one of the big streaming services, all this kind of great archival footage may be lost in the ether. Just wondering, do you have a big picture take on physical media in general? Does it have its value or not?
I don't have a take on this because I admit I'm kind of I think that I'm always on the border of being a hoarder. Like, just watch, when I'm 70 or 80 years old, if I live that long, and then I die, it's going to be one of those things where like the reality TV show with the camera comes in and realizes they can't even open the door because I've been hoarding all this shit, right? I'm really sentimental, Greg. Like, I shit you not, I have a rubber band bracelet that one of my associate producer, Todd Brown, his daughter made me a rubber band bracelet when she was like 10 years old or 9 years old or something. And she put it on me. She says, I made this for you, Mattie. And she noticed that I like the colors red and black. And I still have it. I kept it in my purse. Like, that's the kind of sentimental hoarder that I am. So like for me, that special edition Blu-ray, which there is one, by the way, and
oh, can I get it?
Recipe.
I can go on Amazon and order it right now. I can do that or not?
It's on vinegarsyndrome.com, I think.
Okay, cool.
And it's a limited edition. And you know what? I actually went to one of my favorite restaurants in Vientiane, where I go to like their happy cocktail hour all the time. And I had them custom make a long walk drink. And I included the recipe in it.
That's amazing. I'm totally gonna go to Vinegar Syndrome and
The
order
most
it.
random fucking Blu-ray that you'll ever find. Like, I think normal people have Blu-rays that are like, here's a deleted scene. I'm like, okay, here are some behind the scenes pictures. I'm like, here's a cocktail recipe that MattieDo likes.
If I have someone make the long walk at my local bar, can I drive home safely, or will I possibly transition to the next level, to the next stage?
It depends on how many of them you've drunk, but it is not a soft beverage, let me tell you. I think the ingredients are like vodka and like a little bit of simple syrup, and then like some chilies.
That's amazing.
It's a stiff long drink. But yeah, like the physical media thing, I want to tell you, I don't remember the book, so you and your team will have to go do research. It was a children's book. Do you remember in elementary school in the States that you get these weird flimsy newspaper things that were called book orders?
Book
like
orders.
Scholastic.
Yes.
And,
yes.
You know, and then you tear off that strip and you check what you wanted, and you put like this money envelope, right? Book orders. And there was one book order that I got a long time ago when I was a child, and it was about this. Not DVDs and Blu-rays per se, but it was about in the future, everything's devastated now. And I think that it's an archaeologist that excavates a site, and they find what I think is a hotel. I believe it's a hotel, but they're treating it like King Tut's tomb. And they're making all of these like assumptions about the items that they're finding. Like they find a toilet seat and they're like, they put it around their head and their neck. Like, this must have been a ceremonial headdress of the emperors from that decade or from that era. And I laughed. I remember like, when you mentioned this is the first thing that came into my head was this book, this children's book.
I've got to look that up.
I have no idea what it's called, but you can find it. I do think that this is what it's going to be like. So as much as I love streaming and as much as I love the cloud, I have behind me in this shelf drives that I can't access. And what use are they at this point if I can't access the drive? So yes, the digital information was there at one point, but like, I can't access them. Some of them are outdated or like they're corrupt. And so like, does that mean it's just gone?
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of them are valuable, I'm assuming, the stuff that's gone, that you might think is gone.
Photos. I even have family photos that I can't see anymore. But like, thank God that, but when you have that physical photo, even if it gets faded or whatever, like at least you had it,
A couple more questions before I let you sleep. And I thank you so much for all your time. This is going to be the most impossible question since I know you're a cinephile, but right off the top of your head, can you name one of your all-time favorite movies, and what is it about this specific film that still speaks to you today as a filmmaker and more importantly, cinephile?
Ratatouille is my favorite film. Ratatouille.
Wow. Is it because you love the culinary stuff, or it's just a special? You know what? I actually did the press junket, and I forget, but I remember really loving that film. I forgot why I loved it. Why do you love it so much?
I mean, the colors are beautiful. Actually, it's like really warm color palette. But, there's something to be said about us being able to emotionally resonate with a rat. And we talk about hardships and oppression and the human condition all the time. It's like us as POC, as people of color, the problems that we face every day, the prejudices, the racism, and I think about this little rat, and he's more hated than any IPOP person ever. He's disgusting. He's worse than trash. Nobody has any expectations for him, because at least when you look at a Black person, a Latino person, or an Asian person, their expectations, they might be super shitty, preconceived notions, right? But their expectations, and with a rat, there's no expectation. The only expectation is I have to kill it. It's diseased. It's beneath any kind of human. And yet he works so hard to achieve his goal. And not only does he achieve it, he surpasses it, and it all falls apart. And it's just, I feel so strongly about Remy the rat. And then he finds a way, after everything has fallen apart, after everyone around him who supported him was persecuted, even that critic, You know, even the critic that wrote that amazing review about his food was like ousted from the critic world because he rated the food from a rat-infested restaurant so highly. They found a way to still band together as a community, as a family, as a core team, and make it work. And they found their own way towards happiness, despite all the like crazy challenges. And I find this film so emotional. I cry every time I watch it. So Ratatouille and Coco are like my two favorite films. Then Black Swan. But Black Swan's a really obvious choice, and I think you can tell why, but still. Well, Ratatouille.
Wow.
I can watch it like a billion times, Greg. I never get tired of it.
Now, last question. Do you see yourself down the road staying in Laos and continue to make films there, or will you ultimately one day just have two places where you can make films in the States as well as Laos, or is it where do you stand on that as well?
I will always make film in Laos. I will always come back to make film in Laos. Laos is also my home. It's a place that I understand very well. It's a place whose traditions and cultures I want to share with the rest of the world. I feel a huge responsibility to share the stories of Laos from my perspective so that it doesn't get skewed and twisted by non-Laotian perspectives. I think it's fine if you want to be a foreigner and you want to come to Laos and make films, please come. It would be great. We have beautiful locations. We have amazing actors. We have very interesting events and stories. But at the same time, you have to be a little bit careful because sometimes you find people will appropriate your stories for their own and get it so fucking wrong. Like, for instance, The Rocket. Like, The Rocket, they used Thai people pretending to be Lao people. They filmed 80%, if not more, of that film in Thailand, pretending to be Lao. And they used beliefs that we Lao people don't even believe in. Like, we don't believe that if you have a twin, that one is evil. You know what I mean? So this is what happens if you don't take ownership of your own culture and your own traditions. If you're not the one who's sharing your perspective. So it's very important for me to make Lao film. But I see myself making films in many places. Like, I don't want to limit myself to only making Lao film. Someday I'll make a French film. Someday I'll make an American film. Someday I'll make a Canadian film or a Mexican film. I would love to go all over the world and work with my friends who are extremely talented all over the world. You know, I look at the works of like my friend Isa Lopez in Mexico.
Great. Amazing.
She's incredible. I would love to work with her someday, but also she's out in England shooting like crazy period stuff. She's in Mexico making her Mexican film. She's in America shooting some crazy fucking story in America where she's doing some like story with like Korean nuns, and it's like incredible. And when I see that, I'm just like, we shouldn't be limited to only one place because we're, especially a mutt like me, I'm more than one place, you know?
Yeah, Mattie, thank you so much for all your time. And if you could really relay a message to your husband and tell him, you know, I know he knows from you too, but just, yeah, from plebes like me, he's an amazing writer. Just all around great stuff with a
You
lot
want to say hi to him?
Yeah, sure. I'll just.
You can say hi to him. He's a plebe too. Chris, can you come say hi to Greg? He wants to say hi to you. You don't know Greg. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know myself, so it's okay.
He just said he's not putting pants on. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay, Chris.
Okay,
I just want.
It's still.
Chris, I just wanted to compliment you and Mattie on just a great film and great writing, and I can't wait to see more stuff from you guys. And you know, yeah, so really appreciate it.
Oh, awesome! Thanks, man.
All right, and now put your pants on, please. So, okay, Mattie,
Keep his pants off.
you need to get some sleep. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.